Hello everyone, we're coming to you here from Silicon Slopes. I'm your host today, Jack Castle with Nasdaq, and we're fortunate to be joined with New York Times bestseller, as well as a serial entrepreneur, Jesse Itzler. Jesse, thanks so much for coming on.
Great to be here, Jack.
So maybe starting off, you have such a diverse background from musician or rapper to entrepreneur to endurance sports. Maybe start off with what's the common theme or common denominator from a mindset perspective that you've pulled throughout your career?
Well, that's a really good question. I think for starters, I had no prior experience in any of the businesses that I went into. And I think for a lot of people, that's super intimidating. You know, like, oh, I can't do that. I've never been in this industry, or, you know, our family didn't come from this industry. But for me, it was a great gift because it meant that everything I did would be done completely different than my competitors. And so I had no prior experience in music or aviation or beverage, you know. And so it gave me a fresh angle on how to market it, how to sell it, how to package it. And that was definitely a superpower.
Yeah, well, you've done incredible with each of those. And maybe dovetail into your marriage with Sarah Blakely, who's also the founder of Spanx, and obviously that creates a household now of two very successful entrepreneurs. How do you manage the work-life balance, and what advice would you have for other couples maybe that are going through a similar juggle, if you will?
You know, I was fortunate because both Sarah and I got married later in life. I was 40, she was 37, and we had already kind of established our businesses. Spanx was already in year 7 when we got married, and my businesses were already more mature. So that was we were lucky to have that because it allowed us to have more time and freedom. You know, we already had an infrastructure in the businesses, but with 4 kids now and multiple businesses, we have to plan stuff. We're big planners, you know. Yeah. We plan trips, date nights. I feel like if you don't plan it, it won't happen. So we're really aggressive with our planning and our time together as a couple, independent of our time together as a family, because our kids need to see that we come first. You know, you always talk like, oh, the kids come first, and they're like, they need to see that like mommy and daddy have to be right. Yeah. Otherwise, it all falls apart. So we spend a lot of time, you know, and if it gets out of balance, she's not bashful or shy to pull me aside and be like, you know, I need you right now. Yeah. She's really good at that, and I become good at listening.
Oh, well done. Spoken like a great husband. And I love that because my wife is also an entrepreneur. If it's not on the calendar, right, and juggling the kids and all that, and so I love that you get way ahead with the planning and all that. But that's our life: is if it's not on the calendar, then how am I supposed to know what you're doing or I'm supposed to be doing, et cetera?
Well, what I found is I'm really aggressive with my calendar, but I found that if you don't put it on the calendar, your calendar fills up with work stuff. Yeah. And Sarah and I both understand the importance of prioritizing you before work. Like, work's always going to happen. Right. So, you know, getting those things on the calendar first gives you permission to say no to stuff that might otherwise take away the time from your family.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Now, speaking of calendars, in your Build Your Life resume program, you emphasize really not only the calendar and kind of the planning, but experience over material possessions. Can you share a recent experience that you've had that's really had a significant impact on you?
That's easy. Jack, you give me a softball. I just rode my bike across the United States of America. I got to see the whole country 17 miles per hour at a time, basically, west to east. And you know, that is a result of what we're talking about. It's something that we planned. I did it with 10 friends. And I'm a big believer that every year you should do one big year-defining event. You have to have something to show for it at the end of the year. 365 days, like it can't just be Zoom calls. So this was something that I planned with 10 friends, and we rode our bike across the country, and we carved out, and it was hard to do that.
I'm sure.
With kids' sporting events and meetings, but we carved out 14 days, all of us, and we did it, and it was a life-changing thing. I'm a big believer in building your life resume in tandem with your business resume, like prioritizing your life resume, and those are the experiences that you have that because like Sarah always says, in our house, the more you experience, the more you have to offer, and it's true. I learned so much from that ride about me, about the country, about my friends, what's important to me, and it wouldn't have happened if I didn't say yes.
Yeah, oh, that's incredible. Well, if anybody tuning in, follow you on social media as well. We'll give another plug at the end, but it's great to see that journey also, but specifically to hear the planning ahead of it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not happenstance, it's not on a whim, but it's actually very disciplined approach to it.
And I'm 55 years old, so I'm a product of trial and error. And I went through my 30s just winging it, or even my 40s. And it's just hard when you get older to create newness. And like, where do you get newness from? You really have to plan it. So, I've gone through a lot of renditions of structure with Sarah, and it's constantly evolving. As the kids get older, our life model changes with it,
Yeah.
what we say yes to and what we say no to.
Absolutely. And you've said that you divide your life into seasons to better manage your time and goals, and I'm sure that rolls into the calendar, but can you elaborate on that particular concept and how you apply it?
I don't really divide it into seasons, but what I do is I do always try to pick one big thing. Like last year was, this year, ride my bike across the country. Maybe it was like, I'm going to put out a book, but one big thing. And then I just, not doing it by seasons, but I do like prioritize 6 little mini adventures a year. And the reason is, like, if you're 50, I'm not saying you're 50, but if you're 50,
someday,
and you live to be 80, so you live 30 more years, how old are you?
43.
So if you're 43 and you live to be 83, you have 40 more years. If you plan 6 little mini adventures, you'll have 240 adventures that you might not had if you didn't do it.
Yeah.
That's an incredible life resume. So part of my planning is one big thing a year, and then I do these little 6 mini adventures, because cumulatively over time, you add all these amazing experiences.
Absolutely. All right. Now,
while you're building your business.
Yeah, now you're getting me fired up here.
I'm getting fired up.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me this is going to happen in this interview, Jack.
Yeah.
You told me we're just talking, not getting fired up.
That's how we roll here. Absolutely. I guess one last thing, you've taken some extraordinary challenges in addition to the bike race, but I know that you had done the 100-mile race as well, which was also inspiring for me. How do you take these intense physical experiences, and how does that mindset roll into a lot of what you're speaking about now, or just life?
I mean, I think it translates as an immediate impact on all the buckets of my life by doing. You're referencing endurance events. I run 100-mile races and Ultramans and Ironman, that kind of stuff. And I feel like the same grit that it takes to finish those or participate, the same, just to get to the starting line, the same discipline, all of that translates into all the buckets of your life. So for me, putting those things on the calendar, putting them on my plate, it's like we're all born with. They say grit's the number 1 indicator of future success. If anyone listening here has children, if they raise grittier kids, their chances of success is going to go up. We're all born with a baseline of grit. Maybe on a 1 to 10, you're a 7, I'm a 4, who knows. But when you do challenging things, it takes that baseline up. It never goes back down. So I feel like those are just like strengthening that muscle, that courage muscle. It's the same courage to get to the starting line of a marathon. It's the same courage to launch a business. Like, I might fail. The how am I going to do it is overwhelming, and you have to troubleshoot. It's very similar, and I feel like it shows itself in business as well.
Absolutely. Well, you've done an incredible job building on that, and I think as we've looked at your career and highlighted a few of those things, now hearing the story behind it, watching each step kind of progressively achieving your goals, but then picking your head up for what's next. And I think that rings to all the entrepreneurs that will be tuning in, let alone the senior executives that'll be tuning in. So thank you for that. And thank you for your time today.
I appreciate it. It feels weird to be on this side of the seat, because I remember when I was coming up, I was always the young guy in the chair, and now I'm the old guy in the chair, man.
You're keeping it young.
Weird.
Keeping
Can't
it
stop
real.
the clock, man.
No, very true.
Soon,
Yeah.
they're gonna say, "How old are you, Jackie?" You'd be like, "I'm 55."
Well, hopefully over there.
You're doing good in that chair.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me,
Thank
man.
you so much, and thank you for tuning into this episode.